Hey mama, are you a multi-passionate mom who is juggling all the things, nursing a baby, battling laundry, trying to keep it together and keep a spicy marriage, and feeling like you're feeling all of it? What's up? I'm Ashley Carroll. I'm here to hold your hand through this process because I believe when you're ready to take control of your life, beat the limiting excuses, step into your own power, you can not only survive, but you can thrive. But you're gonna have to show up for yourself. It's time for me to tough love your way through prioritization, taking self-care seriously, getting rid of excuses, reconnecting with your family, kids, and spouse, and quite honestly, learning to love the chaos because the glory is in the journey. It's in the mess. In this podcast, you will find balance for busy mamas, navigating mom guilt, time management strategies, and everything in between with no fluff and lots of fun. Let's go. Hey, what's up, Mom Tribers? I am so glad you're in the earbuds. No, the earbuds are in you. That just sounds weird. I'm so glad you're listening to this podcast today because we are continuing the Unstuck series. And today I want to talk about getting unstuck in settling and normalizing settling because I've mentioned before in podcast episodes previously, the world tends to just make it feel normal that, as your life progresses, as the journey continues, you're supposed to just compromise and accept things the way they are and just let go of, your dreams and ambitions and let go of yourself and that it's okay. And I think that there is a fine line. There's like a healthiness to this perspective. And I see why we just swung so far, in one direction because a lot of us, and because of, just culture previously and eras before us, there was a high amount of pressure and perfectionism and just an outward appearance that women had to have at all times and the expectations for them and their roles in the home and the roles of men in their home. And so we completely were like, no, we shouldn't be that way. Things shouldn't be that way. And rightfully so, right? But we swung too far the other direction to where now we have become complacent in our lives. Like life isn't happening for us, it's happening to us. And we're kind of just bystanders in it. And, it's heartbreaking because I look back and I'm like, dang it, I could have utilized, had I had the tools that my kids have now or that I'm sharing with you guys or that I'm learning myself, I could have already been living my life to its fullest and really in a joyous way, instead of just sitting by and feeling like, well, that's just how it is. Like, these are the cards that I was dealt. So here's the hand that I have to play, and being limited by that, being stuck by that, and then not being able to move forward or look past that. And so then, when we get into motherhood, we have kids and it's like, okay, we have one kid and then, limiting beliefs, we feel limited in what we can do, what we can achieve. And then, there's disruptions in our marriage because of a kid. And then you add in another kid and then even more disruptions, even more barriers and limiting beliefs and limiting and excuses and this, that, and the other. And then, obviously on and on as you add more kids and then we don't fight it. I think that's what the scariest part is that we've become numb to this feeling of, wait a minute, some of this isn't right. Some of this is okay in a season, and that we do things for ourselves and as a couple to maintain our desires, not to just shove them back into a drawer and hope that eventually they happen. Because newsflash or spoiler alert, if you put a turkey in the pantry, it ain't gonna cook, right? You can't expect to shove stuff to the side and hope that they somehow magically make a way of fitting back into your life on their own. No, we have to pave a way for those things. When we're nursing, when we're breastfeeding, at some point, we know that we're in this season of our child being attached to us. We're their main food source. And so that puts limiting things on what we can do sometimes or our schedules. But then we start to have the progression of weaning, right? Or the process of weaning, which allows us to gain some of our freedom back. Or maybe it's not that. Maybe it's, getting your child acclimated with being left with somebody, being babysat, so you can gain some of that freedom. You're in the season of, them being dependent on you and what is that? Attachment, and then you just slowly work towards that freedom. It's the complacency and the staying where you are, not allowing yourself to plan and continue to cultivate those desires, and then plan to make them, continue, like make time for those things, like, as you would begin the process of getting your child used to somebody else watching them, or, this, that, and the other. So let's get back to this idea of settling. And maybe I need to come up with a new word for it eventually. But right now, it's normalizing that's just how it is. This is the way things are. This is the way it always will be. Things are never going to change mindset. I want you to think right now, where do you most find yourself settling? Is it in your marriage? Is it in your job? Is it in your career? Is it in your motherhood approach? We've all had, or at least most of us have had, that bad relationship that we settled for, that we knew we could have done better. We knew we deserved better. And for whatever reason, we maintained this relationship despite its toxicity, its, lack of a lot of things, right? Like, we were in these bad relationships and we settled for it because it was comfortable, because it was familiar, because it felt safe, even though it wasn't, safe. Or, so we all can relate to that form of settling because it's the most common. But like, what about, do you settle in your desires in your marriage? Do you settle in mediocre communication with your spouse? Do you settle with unfulfilled love languages? Feeling unfulfilled, feeling like your love tank is empty, feeling unheard, feeling like you're alone in this parenting thing, feeling like you have these dreams and nobody wants to listen, or you're being discouraged, you're being criticized, you're being judged, and you're just settling for less because. Or maybe you're just settling for your appearance, like your appearance is just whatever because that's just how it is, like this whole Hot Mess Express thing has become so a part of motherhood that like now you just don't put in any effort because you feel like there is no other option, right? You're a mess, your house is a mess, your life is a mess. You feel like you don't have control of things. You feel like everything is spiraling out of control. Your thoughts are spiraling. Your marriage is less than great. Okay, but let me be clear. When I'm talking about settling, I'm not saying or encouraging you to do more, to become on the PTA, to make the homemade cookies for your kids' classroom, to, Pinterest all the things, and to have all the things, and to do all the things. So I'm not saying if you're not settling, then that must mean you're doing all the things and you're doing more and you're constantly 100% perfectionism. No, I'm not calling you to be more or to do more. Settling is not the doing or the lack of doing more. Settling means letting go of things that are important to who you are, what you believe in, how you would like to be loved and treated, and becoming complacent in finding or creating joy and growth. Let me say that again because I want to make sure that when you're listening to this and you're like thinking and examining your life right now, if you're doing these things. Settling means letting go of things that are important to who you are, what you believe in, how you would like to be loved and treated, and becoming complacent in finding or creating joy and growth. You were given this fire for desire, like that, those gut things that just get us so excited and fired up. You were given that feeling for a reason. God created you to have this spark for these things that you were called to do, called to cultivate, ways to show up in things, in your marriage, in relationships, in your motherhood. And those are not silly things. I think that we push those aside somehow as like this childlike, dreamlike thing that we have to let go of once we get into our adulthood years. And that is false. There's no reason that you should snuff that out. There's no reason that you should let somebody snuff that out for you. Now, hold on. I know this is a touchy subject because we have circumstances. We have life-changing things that happen to us that call us to make decisions that aren't exactly ideal, right? That is being called to step up for your family, sacrificial love, and those are good things. Those are so good things. But again, it's a little bit different from settling, because settling means letting go of things that are important to you. If it's, it's important that you keep your family together, right? So therefore, you're going to stay home now instead of going to work, or you're going to move here instead of there, right? But that's a working together with your spouse. That's a weighing, your priorities over, some desires sometimes. But it's not compromising who you are. It's not compromising what you believe in, or how you want to be loved or treated, or the things that are important to you, right? So I just want to acknowledge that I know things happen. I know life happens, and sometimes it's not ideal, and sometimes it means that we're doing things, and I guess sometimes we can be settling in different seasons, but that is not our overall theme for our life. That's not our overall goal, and we're not going to stay there. It's the staying there, the not doing something about it, or the not planning for the future to somehow change that narrative for your life and your family. It's the being stuck in it because you feel like there's no other way. You're listening to all the lies. You're letting it determine how the rest of your life is going to play out. This, that, and the other. It's the being stuck in the settling. Okay, so why do we settle? I feel like there's a few main reasons, and obviously you can go into each of these deeper, but the main ones are we settle basically because of the beliefs about ourselves and what we deserve. Think about that old boyfriend that you had that didn't treat you so great. Do you think if you had had more confidence or more, more self-confidence, you felt more self-worth, you felt maybe a little bit more courage, and you knew your value and what you were worthy of, what you deserved, would you have stayed in that relationship? Probably not, right? It would have been a lot easier for you to avoid that kind of person altogether, or to be able to see the red flags and get out immediately, versus staying in something like that because you felt like that's the level of love or the bar, the standard that was okay for you. So a lot of the times we settle because we believe that we can't achieve more, that we don't deserve more. There's no way we could get the man of our dreams, right? Another one is it's busy life. Sometimes we're unaware. As motherhood happens, we just have kids and we have one after the other, and we just get caught up in all the things, and life is just happening. It's flying by, and we haven't realized that slowly we've been letting things go because we're so used to, and we're the queens of, and the hearts of the home so much that we're putting ourselves on the back burner because we love everybody. We love everybody and we want to put them first. So we become unaware and subconsciously or unconsciously putting other things before us and letting our desires and our dreams and the things like the foundations of who we are and what we want in life to slip away. Another thing is we believe this is what love looks like. We believe that we should give others all the things and we deserve nothing, or we let others' unwillingness to change our standard. So where are you settling most in your life right now? Think about that for a second. And then why do you think that you do that? Why do you think it is that you struggle so much with just letting things go, or having that thought, well, this is just the way it is, I guess, or that's just how it's going to be? I remember growing up when my mom would talk about things. That was a phrase that was commonly used for her, was, when she would talk about an argument with my dad and stuff and whatever. It was just, that's just the way it is. Or this is, that's just how things are. It was like, no, you don't have to accept that. This is not, if the relationship is unhealthy, then you need to both man up, have the conversation and work through that despite the outcome, right? Despite the awkwardness or the tension, right? It has to be talked about. You can't just say, well, that's just how it is. No, That's exactly how a relationship doesn't last, because nobody's putting in the effort. You're just settling for okay. And that's my other fear with a lot of you listeners, is that when you're settling, is that you're thinking, well, this is just how it is. And, it is what it is. Eventually, it is what it is. It has no foundation. It has no way to survive. So yes, right now you're surviving, but for how long? Like a flower can't live for years with no water. It may be able to survive a season, maybe even 2 seasons. Heck, maybe it's a weed and it can last for, 3 decades. But eventually without water, that flower is going to die. So you have to water yourself, guys. We're talking about flowers now. Settling versus being comfortable is also a thing that I want to point out, because in our marriages, right? Like this comes up, like if you're thinking about settling, you're like, oh, well, I let my husband do this, that, and the other, which I told myself I would never do when I first got married, or, whatever. But there's a difference between settling and being comfortable. Here's an example. Your spouse's flaws, right? Like the things that irritate you the most, all their little mannerisms or whatever, can infuriate you, and you choose to stay despite them. So like you're annoyed at this flaw, you're annoyed at this thing, it just makes you resentful, it makes you angry, man, it just like burns you up inside. Or you accept your spouse's flaws and all the mannerisms, all the quirks, you call them out, and you love your spouse for his flaws. Which one do you think is comfortable, and which one do you think is settling? The comfortable one is the one that I last spoke. The choosing to accept your spouse's flaws, loving them for it, having the discussion about them. That doesn't mean that you just like let them go, right? No. Maybe that's a different conversation. It's calling them out, having the discussion about them, loving them for their flaws, that they're emotionally wired, that they're, intellectually wired, or that they leave their socks all over the place. Like there's 2 different feelings that this creates, right? When it's settling out of resentment, and you feel that resentment, you feel that turmoil, you feel that there's just something unsettling about it, versus a flaw where it's like annoying, but gosh, you love that man. Like those socks remind you of the love that you have for him. Those are 2 different, ballparks there. So which one are you in? Which one of those situations can you feel like you relate to most right now in life? Maybe not just in your marriage, but in life or in your motherhood journey. If you're feeling like there's an unsettling feeling, you're feeling it for a reason. We're given gut instincts for a reason. That doesn't mean to break free completely. Maybe it just means that we need to do some work. Maybe we just forgot. We got so busy wrapped up in our kids' lives and all the things, or we got so busy in taking care of our husbands and putting their priorities first that we forgot. Oh my gosh. Like, I've only got this one life. Like, am I going to live it settling for all these things that I don't even want or don't even like or enjoy or find joy in, and I'm no longer growing, I'm no longer bearing fruit? Friend, hear me when I say this. I love you, and I told you this episode and many before that I will tough love you, because I care enough to say the things that some people would rather not say, or maybe that you just need to hear. Like, you already knew it, and you just need somebody to give you the freedom to make a move on it, or you need somebody to process this with you. I'm your girl for that. If you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always got. I've heard that quote 1,000 times. I'm sure you have too, but right now I feel like it applies to what I'm trying to say. And look, like, I feel like I touch on topics that are so touchy, right? Like, I don't want to offend you, and yet I want to make you aware. Like, I want to wake you up. Wake up, right? Like, we only have this one shot. You should find joy in life. You need to thrive, not survive. We've got one chance, guys. We have one chance. I don't know about you, but I don't have 9 lives. I have this one life, and I want to do it good, and I want to enjoy it. I want to look back on my years and be like, yes, I did that to the fullest. Yes, I did the best that I could. Yes, I felt good. I was in my own skin. I was growing. I was finding joy. I was, fueling what's important to me, what's important to us as a couple, what I believe in, and I'm being loved and treated how I would like to be loved and treated. And it's always a journey, right? We're always evolving, but it should always be moving forward as a whole, like big picture, right? Small picture, it's going to be all over the place, but you should still be moving slowly forward. Settling is ignoring our gut instincts, y'all. We're given those gut instincts for a reason, so you just need to tap into them. You need to get still long enough to listen to yourself. You need to embrace the awkward enough to have conversations with your spouse, to have conversations with yourself, to call yourself out, to start calling out your limiting beliefs and looking back into your past and opening wounds. Yeah, it sucks. It does suck, but I tell you that moving forward after that, like, I remember just throughout my journey having like wounds so deep that I like blacked them out completely. So they were open, unhealed wounds, basically is what I was walking around in, ignorant to where they all were over my body. So that way, if I went into we're just getting metaphorical here, okay? So imagine somebody who has a blindfold on, right? With all these opened, unhealed wounds because I'm blinded by, right? Like I'm blocking all these things out. And I just decide to go into a saltwater pool or whatever, right? I can feel all of it, and yet I'm still choosing to ignore, and I can feel the pain and all that, but I'm still choosing to ignore the fact that they're there and the work to close those up versus digging in them. Like, this is getting gross. Taking the blindfold off, getting in those wounds, feeling the tenderness of it, the hurt from it, the pain from it, the memories, right? But then on the other side, man, after you do that, it heals up. And you're no longer bound by certain places or things or thoughts because you're afraid of the sting from those opened, unhealed wounds. Now you can walk freely wherever you want because things may be brought up, but you can still move forward. That's what I want for you guys, right? Y'all are made for so much. I hope you know that. I hope you know that your desires are there for a reason. Your gut instincts are there for a reason. Your bars should be set high because you're worth it. You deserve it. And we just have to do the work, you guys. Kids happen, life happens, and things fall to the wayside, and that's okay. So then we have to veer back on track, guys. We have to veer back to living a life that's healthy for our minds, for our well-being, for our bodies, for our souls, for our families, for our marriages. Stop settling for less because it's fun or it's easy or it's comfortable or it's normalized or it's the thing that your friends are doing or it's the thing that your parents have taught you to do or that, this is it. No. Just because you were dealt a hand does not mean you can't shuffle that deck and deal yourself a new hand. I don't know who told you those cards were glued to your fingers and those are the only cards you have to play this life with because that is a lie. You just need to shuffle that deck, deal yourself a new hand, and get on with your dang life, bear fruit, stop surviving, and actually find joy, find growth, find love, find value, self-worth in this life that you have. All right. Always feel like I need to end that with let's turn on a peppy tune now and after I just beat you over the head with a spatula, right? Out of love, guys. But I hope you enjoyed that episode. I hope that you found something you can take away from that. And I hope that you share it with somebody who can also find a little nugget of truth or freedom or something that they can learn from or relate to. If you could relate to this episode and you were like, yes, that is me. Oh, why am I doing this? How do I get out of this? Y'all, I was doing Unstuck coaching sessions that were individual, but I want to start a group Unstuck coaching series with a small group of women, just a group of us where we can really work this out and stop this feeling like we aren't good enough mess, like there's something missing, if you feel like you can't seem to break through with your spouse or you've forgotten who you are, like this is where we are going to get in it and we are going to start living at the 1%. We're going to be different than the 99 and we can begin to become unstuck and take action and make a plan of how to live and rise above the mundane. Okay, so if you feel like that's for you, just think about it. At the beginning of the year, I'm going to be doing that with a small group of women, and I would love for you to be a part of it. As I iron out the details, I will share more with you about that. Again, that'll begin at the new year. But for now, I am super excited to share with you guys that I'm going to be speaking at a completely free workshop for you guys about living with more purpose and productivity in your life. There are also 11 other incredible speakers. And the best part is that we aren't selling a dang thing. The entire purpose is to pour into our mamas and women in this season, this busy, crazy life right now, where you've been just giving, pouring your cup out. We want to fill you back up. So if you've been searching for more success in your business, more time and space in your motherhood, more intention in the way that you live your life, I invite you to come join us. It'll be starting December 13th all the way through the 24th. Again, 12 speakers throughout these 12 days, each one speaker a day. And there will be some fire conversations going down. So make sure you go to bit.ly/success support group. And there you can find all information and like what times and days people are speaking and get in on that because it's really awesome, guys. Like these 12 or 11 women are just like freaking amazing. And they're just so good at pouring into women and all their individual callings and giftings of doing so. And so I encourage you to definitely check that out. And again, you can find that at bit.ly/success support group. Check it out. All right, guys, have an awesome day. Catch you later.